me questions. It's just easier to be interactive and it's more fun. And
well, welcome everybody. It is our pleasure and privilege to have Galen with 805 Escrow today. She's actually very famous, not for escrow. She's famous because having the most expensive Trader Joe's bill for
you'll have
groceries.
to Google that. He's not wrong.
So I don't know if there was something that trended on social media, which was Sergio, her husband, complaining about the $800 tab, and I said, mine's bigger. I said at Costco. So anyhow, then it became this kind of like going back and forth about who has the most expensive family, and right.
Yeah.
So there's a new law that is going to affect how we deal with cash buyers. So Galen is going to be talking about, is it FinCEN, right?
FinCEN, mm-hmm.
Yeah. So without further ado, we have.
Sorry, I'm keep losing it here. All right. So I know when we hear FinCEN, doesn't sound like riveting information, right? So I am trying to make this as interactive and as engaging and interesting as FinCEN can possibly be. I started in the broker space, so when this came out, it's a title issue. It's a title and escrow issue, right? But because I came from the broker space, I'm very sensitive to how title and escrow issues affect brokers and the experience that your clients have, which then in turn, right, if your clients are having a problem at title and escrow, who's going to get yelled at? You guys, right? So I'm very sensitive to how title information affects your client's experience and then also your experience. So, that's my baby. All right. So FinCEN is rolling out a new law come December 1st. So we're going to do an overview of the new FinCEN regulation in regards to its affecting residential real estate transactions. And then why? Because what's your social? Who are your trust beneficiaries? And what's your citizenship status? It's not a normal question until now. And especially in light of everything going on, right? That's a super sensitive question. And if you guys get a call from your buyer wondering why we're asking that question, you'll know why. Oh my gosh, is this going to give me a hard time? Sorry. That's annoying. All right. No, you know what? I may let you. Do you mind? Thank you. Okay, so FinCEN anti-money laundering regulations. What is to come for consumers come December 1st, 2025, and why is it happening? So FinCEN did an internal review, and FinCEN stands for Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. Oh, go back one, sorry. There you go. FinCEN determined that while effective within the areas that it was covering, the GTOs did not address illicit financial risk posed by certain real estate transfers nationwide. And I'm going to kind of cover what GTOs are in the next slide and what that means. And they did a study of money laundering through real estate in several counties, and it found that cases that were involved between 2016 and 2021, nearly 61% involved at least one transfer in a county not covered by GTOs. So this is going to expand that area and geographic footprint immensely, and we're going to kind of cover where and why. We do expect consumer pushback due to the immense change and the large amounts, again, of private information that is being asked and that they know is going to be passed on to the government. So there's going to be 111 data points that we will be collecting. That's a lot. Again, customer resistance and an expected addition of 4 to 6 hours per transaction added to each closing. So again, you guys being aware of that, why things are taking longer, and I expect some heavy learning curve come December. So just be aware of kind of what's going on the back end so you guys aren't surprised. We're setting things up now. How are you coming in? We're setting things up now, and I actually had a conversation with a software company this morning, so I'm going to be ready come December 1st. Good. Because I don't want unnecessary delays, right? We have things that are out of our control as it is. Okay, so what is this not? right? And first of all, what is a GTO? A GTO is a Geographic Targeting Order. So a GTO is an order issued by the United States Secretary of Treasury regarding any U.S. domestic financial institutions that exist within a geographic area. So typically, GTOs are issued and renewed every 6 months. So they will target specific zip codes. And it's typically been LA County, a lot of LA County. And Ventura really hasn't been on the GTO target list, which is bizarre, right? Because you can stand in Westlake and have your right leg in Ventura County and your left leg in LA County. So if you're a money launderer, there's plenty of high-end properties in Ventura. I don't necessarily think this has been super effective, and that's probably why they're doing what they're doing. So it is not a GTO. This is also not the Corporate Transparency Act, right? That was like the big thing last year, and corporations were all up in arms because they had to give all their information to the government, and then there were lawsuits, and then it kind of got repealed and it was on hold. So the corporations that did file the BOI reports, it doesn't matter, it has nothing to do with this, and they're going to have to resubmit their information when they buy. This is also not a currency transaction report, a CTR. And this is what we think of when banks have to report those suspicious $9,999 deposits or transfers. It's also not that. Okay, so under the new FinCEN rule, which is effective December 1st, 2025, a non-finance transfer is reportable unless the lender involved is a financial institution subject to the Bank Secrecy Act, meaning it has AML, which is anti-money laundering compliance, and files suspicious activity reports. For example, that's going to be most of your banks, your credit unions, and federally regulated mortgage lenders. So just a side note, like a bank, a SAR would be, like we had a buyer that had international money come in, and then we got a call from the bank. Hey, who is this person? Provide their LLC documents, provide whatever corporation documents they have, because that's obviously going to trigger. You've got China, money from China coming in. Banks want to know, hey, what's up and what are they doing? Is this legitimate? So
You're
it's
not seeing a lot of that right now in this market, are you?
not a ton. This was about 18 months ago. We had a pickup of it, but no, not now.
Last 10 years.
Yes, no, not in the last year and a half, I would say. Okay. So what is the new FinCEN rule, right? It's an anti-money laundering rule aiming to unmask anonymous residential real estate purchases made in cash by entities and trusts. And so the other thing to note is when GTO orders were coming out, they initially were covering trusts. And then our industry was kind of pushing back saying, hey, trusts aren't the problem, right? It's your random LLCs, your corporations, all those entity layers where they were really seeing the problems. But like we think our family trust, most people should have a family trust. That's not typically what we think of when we think of, the cartel laundering money, right? But when our industry had this conversation with FinCEN was not having it. They are not interested in hearing that trusts are not a problem. They're not interested in negotiating. They're not interested in a trial of, okay, let's try this out just on, corporations or LLCs. And if we need to put trusts in the mix, we'll do that. Nope, it's covering trusts. So that obviously affects our buyers. So again, the new FinCEN rule will require 111 data points. Again, way more information than title or escrow normally collect. And no, your customers will be getting questions regarding citizenship, bank account numbers, trust beneficiaries, EINs, social security numbers. And then the reporting will also include information about each payment made by or on behalf of each recorded transferee entity or trust.
Do you anticipate that even on a finance transaction, they might have a large down payment? Do you think that's going to trigger?
I have heard it's not. That's a good question though.
Like 50% down?
No, not as long as it's
finance transaction, so.
Right.
Because the lending arm is supposedly, doing some background checks on them.
So instead of washing $1, now they're washing 50 cents.
I had that question in my last presentation. It's like, yeah, are people just going to finance small amounts?
50%.
when the cartel need to buy their next house, right? Yeah. So, closing date, purchase price, property address, full legal description, buyer and reporting person details must be submitted. The reporting will also require the name of the payer on any wire or other type of payment that comes in. If the transferee entity, if the payer is not the transferee entity or transferee trust, right? So your third party deposits. So that's going to be your gift funds or anybody else helping bring in money to
Uncle Joe's money.
Uncle Joe's money is going to, we want to know
To a certain amount or any amount?
any amount if it's a if it's
If
a
it's a
cash or
non-finance
non-financed. Yep.
Mhm. I have 75%, but Uncle Joe's gonna lend me the other 25%.
Yep.
Then yeah.
Yeah. We want to know where your money's coming from. And they want to know where Uncle
So
Joe's
on
money's.
these, for example, like a parent that's trying to help their kid.
Yep.
No matter what, they have to answer 111 points, data points. They have to give 1100 just for wow. That's
Just for trying to be a nice guy, right? That's what you get.
So basically, Jose and Martha, if you want this to be less painful, instead of borrowing the money from Uncle Joe, just go get a loan.
Yeah.
yeah. We
If you can.
Yeah. If you can, that.
Well, with 75%
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And in regards to the payment, specifically what they'll be asking for, in regards to payment information, so it's going to be the amount, right? The total consideration paid. How was that money transferred? Was it a check? Was it a wire? Bank account details. So they want the name of the financial institution and the full account number. So that's something that the settlement team is also we're really focused on now. You know, we have really secure measures, right? But now we're going to have information we don't even want.
You don't even want
We don't even want it.
You're putting yourself out for a lawsuit.
It'd be horrible.
more.
Right.
Yeah, more liability.
Yeah.
So what about this question? What about the brokers involved?
You guys are not going to see any of this.
No, but are we gonna have to give like blood samples and yeah, swabs for cash buyers? Like, hey, I'm putting my
Yeah,
swab
like your
via
DNA
title.
swab.
I think that you guys are gonna get it on the end
I
where
feel
it's
bad
like,
for you
why the heck
guys.
is escrow asking for the 5 trustees? We already have to accept, you know, they already have who's in charge
Yes.
of this, and do they have to sign a contract? There's all those different things.
So
Yeah.
brokers are not like if we represent cash buyers, like you don't
No.
have to call us and say, hey, can I have 2 swabs, blood
No.
sample, picture when you met your wife, and
No.
so I can wire you your commission instructions.
Not yet.
That's where we're going to.
I know it's really really tough. Yeah, I don't even know what to say.
Is that even for not for hard money, right?
It is. It's hard money. It's a bank with a non-AML program.
But what if, like, example, like I borrow hard money from a private, they are registered as a financial institution. They're just a family.
Right.
It's a private.
Nope. That's gonna trigger reporting.
Holy.
Yeah. So all your flippers, your investors, all those
Yeah.
guys that do the hard money transactions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're the ones, right, that give you the hardest time anyway. Oh, just close it, close it. I'm gonna have money in escrow in 72 hours. It's gonna be fine, right? And then you tell them this. Good luck with that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just maybe prepping your investor flipper clients.
So how much longer you think that it's gonna add to a regular flip transaction?
Three to
cash
six
purchase?
3 to 6 hours on the settlement side. So
Instead of getting confirmation at 12 noon, you're gonna hit it at 4.
Go to sleep.
Will this affect like your super fast 7 to 10 day escrows?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, but
because all cash escrows will be a little bit maybe.
yes, but being prepared, like it's going to be helpful for you guys to know this is going on. Prepare your clients ahead of time. Work with the title team. That there's some teams that don't even know this is happening, which is terrifying to me. Like you should be working with a team A that knows, B understands what it means, and number 3 has their software implementation or is at least working with their software team to know how to streamline this.
Welcome to our life.
I know, I've been there. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. So what type of purchases are covered? So this is not going to apply to commercial right now. It's going to be real property design for 1 to 4 family occupancy. I think this is the terminology on this is the description is interesting. Vacant land on which the buyer intends to build a structure primarily for occupancy by 1 to 4 families. Co-ops, condo, mixed use, apartment buildings, And then this is going to include sales anywhere, right? This is not that geographic targeted
All
order.
territories of the US.
Yes, all territories, US, DC, Puerto Rico, overseas, and Indian lands.
So your social media postings should be, if you're a cartel looking to enhance your portfolio, you probably want to reconsider residential real estate, but commercial real estate.
Commercial.
Yeah.
That would be a good posting, social media.
Let me know what kind of DMs you get on that. Yeah. And there's no minimum sales price. So all sales for any amount are covered. It used to be 300,000 or above, which really doesn't affect our market, right? It's very rare you're going to do a transaction under 300,000, but some areas that this will make a difference.
Especially some, La Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Blooming,
Yep.
Santa Maria.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep. So all cash buyers, obviously, they're automatically assumed non-finance. Seller financing, kind of touching on what we were just talking about. Seller financing, that's also going to trigger reporting. So
Seller financing.
yes, seller financing or private loans from individuals or entities that don't have an anti-money laundering program in place. Those all count as non-financed.
So seller finance is going to assume
And if you think about it, that's actually a method for money laundering.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
We're going to be required to, disclose to the potential seller if we're like, hey, seller financing an option, but if you offer that, be prepared to give 111 data points. You're going to want your account numbers and all that, your social security. Are you willing to do that?
So it will
Is
be
it worth it for you, or maybe not?
it will be on the buy side, but if the buyer is a cash or they're going to do seller financing, the seller will be required to give limited information. So it won't be the full 111, but it's still going to be more than
basic
it would have
information,
been.
How long you live in the house? Do you build the equity sweat, or just purchase it last week?
Well, what if it comes like the deal we're closing today? They're buying cash in
Yeah.
Arizona.
Yeah.
So that one will, if they could show that it's coming from an escrow, from the sale of another house, doesn't matter.
No, I know, and that that was a question we had before too, because it's sourced money.
Yeah, other states. They'll be buying cash in other states. They'll have to prove that the money was based on equity.
Yeah.
But we were kind of hoping that, like, if it went from one escrow account
Yeah,
to another,
Like a
it would-
1031.
like, we've already got kind
Right.
of the information here, but not.
But
Yes,
still,
not.
the reason why is because what if that other transaction just closed cash recently and it was just kind of like a little money trail?
Yeah.
That's the reason why.
It's funny because I was actually watching I wish I could remember the name of the documentary last night, but it was following this rookie FBI agent. He was his first 90 days on the job and he got pulled into this cartel investigation, and it was on Laredo, Texas. So it was very close to the border. And fast forward to the end, they were able to get these guys. But one of the things they had started doing was laundering money through racehorses. But then they were able to buy a ranch. So they had brought, drug money, brought it in by way of racehorses and fixing races. And then they bought a $600,000 ranch cash. So it was kind of weaving its way through, but it was all the source was, what they're trying to avoid and capture. It's really interesting. So again, so private parties, non-bank mortgage lenders, you may have some, like your flipper clients, right? They're going to buy 123 Main Street. So they create 123 Main Street LLC. They may fund that LLC and use that to buy the house. So that's going to be, that's going to trigger reporting. And then hard money or private investors also, again, trigger reporting.
So hard money, that's going to be
Yeah. Okay, so what is exempt, right? There are a few things. So exempt would be transferring a property from John Smith individually to John Smith as trustee of his revocable trust, right? So it makes sense. It's same person to same person. That is not going to trigger reporting. Cleaning up issues.
So you can purchase with the loan and then put it on the trust, and that would not be a problem.
Correct.
But those things happen not necessarily in escrow, they happen at the counter. So that means that the county reporter is going to have to do the same thing?
That's what everybody's trying to figure out. I have a flow chart here that I'll show you too, and it kind of has the cascade of who's responsible for reporting. And even our side, we're like, we don't yeah, what are you asking? Are you asking the county recorder to take on this reporting, right? It doesn't, there's not a lot of clarity right now. Yeah, again, if you're just cleaning up a mess, right, that is not going to trigger reporting. Divorces, mostly exempt, but just something to know is if you're adding or removing a spouse due to divorce or marriage, it most likely is excluded. But if you've got a divorce and then one of the spouses creates their own new trust, that's most likely going to trigger reporting.
Or whoever keeps the children.
Me and my husband always say we're going to fight over who has to keep the kids.
Whoever keeps the children.
You take them. You can have the house payment. You can have whatever you want. So who must report? So this is that kind of cascade chart. The person who is listed as the settlement statement on the agent on a settlement statement, the person that prepares the settlement statement, the person that files the deed for recording, the person that issues the owner's title insurance policy. So it's essentially escrow title, right? Initially, but I think that we are going to see, I mean, it's greatly decreased already where title is willing to do accommodation deeds just because of the liability. But typically, if it's like we were just saying, right, if you bought it as an individual, you want to transfer it into the trust, no problem. There's nothing weird there, not a liability to take that on. Now there's no way title is going to be doing accommodations because they're going to be the responsible reporting entity. So I do have lots of, I have a couple resources and trust that has them too on who we can refer you to handle all that. It's pretty cheap, but yeah, those are going to be, I think, a no-go for title. So I'll make sure you guys get a copy of that chart too. So how will title and escrow collect this information? So it's going to be really important to work with tech savvy companies that rely on automation, know how to use automation, and train their team on it. Otherwise, it's, I mean, 3 to 6 hours is like you're praying that's all it takes. Because otherwise it's going to be double manual inputting of 111 data points after the time it already took to gather that information. And the title and escrow is not going to be able to answer a lot of those questions. So then we're going to have to refer your buyer to whoever created their trust or who their CPA is when they have questions on those things. So there's already going to be that inevitable delay on gathering that information. So we don't need problems like this on top of it. And then
It will be, sorry.
No, go ahead.
It
No,
will be
anytime.
very helpful
Yeah.
if you can prepare as a title company and escrow company, if you can prepare a short list
Yes.
for agents for those. Oh, you already have it.
So lucky. This actually just came. Yeah, it's not, unfortunately not short. You're right. This actually just came out this week. So this is the 111 data points that will be asked of the buyer. So you guys at least have a copy of how the buyers will be tortured when they just
this will be a good idea
want
to
to own
have
their home.
ready filled by an investor.
I wouldn't put that on the agents because I don't think you guys should have that info.
No, give it to the investor blank and say,
Oh yeah.
before you by the time we get the acceptance and the counter offer back, fill this up. We'll be ahead of everybody.
Yes, but I anticipate we're going to be doing it. We're going to be doing it electronically so that we can sync it with hopefully the FinCEN portal. That way, there's no delay on the transaction. Yes.
No, because I think if we collected this data, I think if we're getting it, somehow they're scanning it or emailing it to us, then we're going to be responsible for having.
I don't want you guys
protected
collecting any
email.
of this
Yeah,
stuff.
if it got
Yeah.
I don't want anything else in a birthing and then I want a phone number. That's all I want.
Yeah.
I'm kind of expecting that those individuals that are going to be repeat funders, they're likely going to be having some sort of a code saying that, hey, I've already been.
Good for you because the investor are going to go like, no, I don't want to work with her because she's already got it all.
It's going to be a pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pain. And each transaction is going to require some sort of certification, and it'll be uploaded and completed somehow. We don't know yet.
You can use as a tool.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really
Like,
interesting.
they said that would be good for your company then, right? If you can tell your investors that buy cash, let's say they buy 2 or 3 houses a year and flip them, then once you collect their data, it's already collected.
I don't think FinCEN's going to allow that. Mm-mm. No, because we can't store that information separately. We don't want it. So I don't think there's any way around that right now. I'm hoping down the line that maybe they get behind streamlining this process and that they'll recognize, okay,
There's always a loophole.
So yeah, you just collect and then it goes right into the FinCEN portal.
yeah,
So what would be an example of somebody who refuses to give that information?
we don't close.
Yeah, it's just
Nobody's
you're-
closing that.
you're
No way.
stuck. So,
Thank you,
Yeah.
but no thank you.
Yeah.
So you guys
Yeah.
would then be the ones that are complaining about us.
Yeah.
Oh,
Asking
Tressa,
for
we
it.
never complain.
Not about
Never say
Tressa.
anything.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we don't want to be manually collecting information. We do want to make sure we're determining exempt buyers, right? Because you don't want to hear that we're asking Joe Smith, right? It's only if Joe Smith LLC, right, that's going to apply. We'll be confirming that the lenders have an AML program because obviously it doesn't apply. And then a designation agreement. There's talks that we may be able to have designation agreements between escrow and title, where title will take it on. And then there also may be third parties that kind of pop up, and there can be designation agreements in which this third party handles this, but title and escrow are still the liable, responsible parties. So just to streamline the process, this is something that we are hearing.
Like an NHD company.
Kind of,
third
yeah.
party company.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Will this tack on probably more money to?
It's going to tack on more money anyway. So what I'm hearing is that there will be maybe an additional $750 a file probably for this, because essentially, right, the government has asked the title and escrow industry to become employees, right? Gather this information, submit it to the government. So we're incurring the cost. So it's going to be billions of dollars for the title industry. And so there's going to have to be a fee for it. All right, so real life, right? Can we just close and work on it after? My buyer's really upset. No, we can't. Absolutely not. Because there are civil penalties, and if it's determined to be willful or reckless, right? That's one scenario. So up to $69,000 per violation, with a cap of $278,000. And then criminal penalties for willful violations up to 5 years in federal prison, and or a criminal fine of up to $250,000, right? So one of the arguments that one of the title representatives made to FinCEN was, okay, so you're essentially asking me to find a disposable employee, somebody I don't care that goes to prison, because if they mess up, this is what you're going to do to them. So who am I going to find to do that? Yeah, so I mean, that's just
It's a money grab.
it's
but they're
tough.
gonna try to collect a bunch of money.
and a lot of information, a
It's a
lot of
information, because I mean,
information.
Doesn't seem like they're gathering the government's not gaining financially on this, they're just gaining the information.
The information.
That is
No, but they'll collect those funds.
The
Oh, the
IRS,
fine. No.
the IRS,
Yeah.
the U.S. Post Office, all of the
Highway patrol,
agencies,
yeah,
they're
just trying to
teaming
gain
up
money.
together now.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're teaming up together.
Yes, it's very interesting.
The arm of the federal government.
Yeah, it is. It's Big Brother.
Mhm.
Key takeaways, right? Rely on your 805 title and escrow team. So we know what's coming up. We're going to prevent any hiccups, streamline it. Any questions, always call me, text me. Tressa knows a lot about this. Know that additional changes will be coming. This is still the very beginning stages of the information and data that's come out. That was just this week. And then again, like, just be prepared for customer frustration. Just know why we're having to ask this annoying information, and know that you probably will get some pushback, but that it's necessary, and unfortunately it is what it is, right? So
Prepare the client, guys. That's all we can do. Just prepare
Yeah.
the client.
Yeah.
Prepare the client for it.
yes.
So cash is no longer king.
Gosh,
And did you ever get clarity on whether or not this takes place December 1st or anything even
No.
before that, or is it anything after December 1st? That's when it
Yeah.
will kick in.
good question. Nobody knows.
Okay.
So the industry as of now is going to treat it as if you are in escrow. Yes. So if you open escrow, November 1st and you're supposed to close December 15th, and it's cash, we're going to consider it reportable.
So anything that closes by December
If
1st.
if you close, Thanksgiving, it's not reportable.
It's another urgency, great posting for Instagram. If you are laundering money at a high level rate, you probably want to do it now versus later. Don't wait. Act now.
Don't-
Save yourself
You know what?
$500,000
You're
with
right.
fines.
But that means you're having that conversation sooner than
Yeah.
you would normally try to have it. Like,
Yeah.
you're having that conversation with your cash buyers and investors now.
Right.
But
Because
Matthew brings a really good point. That cash buyer is not going to be as sexy as it used to be.
It's good for the competition.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting to hear all the
But if the investors get a walk around this, they're gonna say, you know what, I'm just gonna go to my local credit union and I'm gonna get a business account and I'm gonna just borrow $10,000 or 10%.
right.
I'll pay the 90 and they'll fund me tomorrow.
Yes, and not have to
It's
deal with
done.
it. Right.
But you'll have to also see, because I had this conversation with one of my lenders.
Yeah.
And they're
Loan
like,
docs, blah, blah, blah.
very doubtful that a lender is going to do all that work.
Well, if you
Oh, and
bank
then have
with
it
them,
paid
if
off.
you bank with them,
You
they
bank
already
with
have
insurance.
the swap.
Right. That's where the DNA
You never know what the
It
rate is
seems like-
going.
And the
Seems
cost of
like
money.
you're gonna have a nurse station right next to your desk, right? Step in here, blood samples and
Yeah.
swab before you can sign a loan document.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be
Gonna
a
make it harder to own
experience. I know, because people work really hard to be able to buy things cash, and they think they've really it is, it's a huge accomplishment, and now we're giving them a hard time. I mean, I do understand, right? I do understand why they're implementing this, but I don't know necessarily trust being
Drugs. Trying to clean out the country of drugs.
right.
They just want to tax the money. That's what it is.
What both?
Yeah.
Taxation.
Well, all this
It's a money
started
grab.
with the Patriot Act, wasn't it? It's kind of
Well, you can't get away from
right after that
taxes whether
happened.
you like
Oh,
it
good
or not.
question.
So
Something about
you're just gonna have a bigger grab on
having
you.
people
That's all.
coming in and buying. It was kind of
Mm.
a little bit about some of that.
Yeah, it was like
Anti-terrorism.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Funding terrorism.
yes, but call, text, email, whatever you guys need. We're happy to answer whatever questions that you have, and then we'll continue to give you guys updates as new things come out, because I do think there will be a lot of updates. One of the title companies did file a lawsuit against this, so they did sue the U.S. Treasury.
I know what kind of business they're in.
Yeah, I don't think it's
LA's got a lot more than Ventura County. We know it.
yeah
Oh, I know.
it's just a bigger
Yeah,
it's a bigger
Irvine don't have
territory.
it, but
Yeah.
LA has it.
Yeah, so we'll see if anything, happens with that lawsuit. There was another title company in Texas that filed a lawsuit against the Treasury Department. So we'll see if there's any last minute injunctions. Nobody's thinking that it's going to happen in time, but we'll keep you guys posted. Yeah.
Cool.
Hopefully, I'm back with good news that it was.
Yeah.
I was just kidding. We don't have to do it. Yeah.
Q&A questions?
So I think we have a lot of people that are newer in the business.
Sure.
Can you give us an overview